The US has advised its citizens in Afghanistan not to travel to Kabul airport because of the security situation there. Thousands of people have gathered at the perimeter trying to leave the country after the Taliban took power. The Taliban say they're making progress in forming a government in Afghanistan since taking the capital, Kabul, last weekend. The Taliban's head of its political wing, Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, is in Kabul for the talks. Greece says it's completed a 40-kilometre fence on its border with Turkey and installed a new surveillance system. It's due to fears of a fresh surge of migrants from Afghanistan. Greece was on the front line of the migrant crisis in 2015. Demonstrations against COVID lockdowns have taken place in several Australian cities. In Melbourne, violence erupted as protesters broke through police lines.
You promised to leave Afghanistan, but you also promised not to help to bring out those who helped America in its war effort. We've seen these heart-wrenching images at the Kabul airport of people trying to get there, say nothing of the people who can't get to that airport. You made the commitment to get American troops out, to get American citizens out. Will you make the same commitment to those who assisted in the American war effort over the last 20 years, number one? And then number two, what is your message to America's partners around the world who have criticized not the withdrawal, but the conduct of that withdrawal and made them question America's credibility on the world stage?
I have seen no question of our credibility from our allies around the world. I've spoken with our NATO allies. We've spoken with NATO allies, the Secretary of State. Our national security advisor has been in contact with his counterparts throughout the world and our allies, as has the general, I keep calling him a general, but my Secretary of Defense. The fact of the matter is I have not seen that. As a matter of fact, the exact opposite I've gotten. The exact opposite thing is we're acting with dispatch. We're acting committing to what we said we would do. Look, let's put this thing in perspective here. What interest do we have in Afghanistan at this point with al-Qaeda gone? We went to Afghanistan for the express purpose of getting rid of al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, as well as getting Osama bin Laden. And we did. Imagine, just imagine if that attack, if bin Laden had decided with al-Qaeda to launch an attack from Yemen, would we ever gone to Afghanistan? Would there ever be any reason we'd be in Afghanistan? Controlled by the Taliban? What is the national interest of the United States in that circumstance? We went and did the mission. You've known my position for a long, long time. It's time to end this war. The estimates of the cost of this war over the last 20 years range from a minimum of $1 trillion to a think tank at one of the universities saying $2 trillion. That's somewhere between $150 million a day and $300 million a day. The threat from terrorism has metastasized. There's a greater danger from ISIS and al-Qaeda and all these affiliates in other countries by far than there is from Afghanistan. And we're going to retain an over-the-horizon capability that if they were to come back to be able to take them out, surgically move. So this is where we should be. This is about America leading the world. And all our allies have agreed with that. And by the way, before I made this decision, I was at the G7 as well as met with our NATO partners. And I told them all, every one of them knew and agreed with the decision I made to jointly end our involvement in Afghanistan. The first part of your question was, I can't remember now.
Would you commit to the same commitment? Would you make the same commitment to bring out Afghans who assisted in the war effort?
Yes, we're making the same commitment. There's no one more important than bringing American citizens out. I acknowledge that. But they're equally important almost is all those SIVs, we call them, who in fact helped us. They were translators. They went into battle with us. They were part of the operation. As well as we're also trying to get out as many NGOs, non-government organizations, women's organizations, et cetera. We're doing all we can. In the meantime, Secretary Blinken and I am going to be working with our allies to see to it that we can bring international pressure on the Taliban they're looking to gain some legitimacy. They're going to have to figure out how they're going to maintain that country. And there's going to be harsh conditions, strong conditions we're going to apply, and it will depend on whether they get help based on whether or not how and well they treat women and girls, how they treat their citizens. So this is just beginning on that score.
We start this hour with an update on Afghanistan. A Taliban spokesperson tells NHK that the group's second-in-command has arrived in the capital, Kabul. Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar is expected to hold talks with influential figures on launching a new administration. Baradar returned to the country on Tuesday from Qatar, where he served in the Taliban's political office. Last month, he discussed developments in Afghanistan with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Kabul's international airport remains in chaos as thousands of people who fear Taliban rule tried to board flights to leave the country. A senior NATO official told Reuters on Saturday that about 12,000 foreigners and Afghans working for embassies and international aid groups have evacuated from Kabul airport since Taliban insurgents entered the capital. But the official says the evacuation process is slow. A U.S. State Department spokesperson has expressed concern about the Taliban's increasing pressure on journalists. Earlier this week, Taliban fighters shot and killed a family member of a journalist working for the German public broadcaster. The fighters were conducting a house-to-house search to hunt down journalists.
We do take extraordinarily seriously. It's the basic matter of freedom of the press. The press should be able to report without intimidation, without harassment, without threat.
The Taliban also reportedly blocked a female news anchor from going into work at the state-run broadcaster, despite claims that the group will allow free media within the framework of Islam. Price said the U.S. will not provide assistance to any government that does not uphold basic obligations to its people. Members of Iran's parliament have started deliberating on President Ebrahim Raisi's proposed cabinet. A former official known for his hardline stance toward the United States has been nominated for the position of foreign minister. Discussions about the 19-member lineup began on Saturday, less than 3 weeks after the new president took office. Raisi said his cabinet will aim to enhance people's lives. He also said it will establish international relations based on national interests. The president has put forward former Deputy Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian to be the country's foreign minister.
Mr. Amir Abdollahian has a lot of knowledge and experience in the field of foreign affairs. I can assure you that he is a trustworthy diplomat.
Amir Abdollahian has been involved in foreign affairs concerning the Middle East for a long time. He is reported to have good ties with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Iran and the U.S. have been engaged in indirect talks aimed at reviving the 2015 nuclear accord since April. The change of power in Tehran may make the negotiations even tougher. The administration of former President Donald Trump withdrew the U.S. from the deal and resumed sanctions against Tehran in 2018. The members of Iran's parliament will hold discussions on the nominations for several more days before they vote on them. Turning to the coronavirus situation in Japan, it's the first weekend under the expanded state of emergency, which began on Friday. Tokyo reported 5,074 new cases on Saturday. It is the first time the capital's cases have topped 5,000 for 4 straight days. 270 patients had severe symptoms. As of Friday, over 26,000 patients were self-isolating at home in the capital. Tokyo Governor Koike Yuriko visited a new oxygen station on Saturday. It will accept self-isolating coronavirus patients who need oxygen support.
Tokyo now faces a medical crisis. We will work together with all parties concerned and make maximum efforts to meet the needs of residents.
Japan's 2 groups of obstetricians and gynecologists will release a joint set of guidelines to ensure the safety of pregnant coronavirus patients isolating at home. The move comes after an expectant mother in Chiba Prefecture who was infected with the coronavirus lost her baby. She was forced to give birth at home as no hospital would accept her. Japan recorded 25,492 new cases on Saturday. It marks the third straight day the daily tally has exceeded 25,000. The head of the International Paralympic Committee told NHK in an exclusive interview that he is flexible with the situation.
If anything different from what happened, for example, during the Olympics happens, then of course we need to sit with the Japanese authorities and discuss what we're going to do. If something changes in the middle of the process, yes, then we need to respond in the better possible way to protect the safety and the health of the athletes.
The IPC president said they will also keep a close eye on how the situation develops in allowing school children to attend Paralympic events at venues.
This was a request made by the Japanese levels of government and which we agreed with, but we said we would like to understand a little bit more how we can protect the kids. So we are in the middle of this process, and of course, I think if we cannot guarantee the safety of the children, everyone will agree that this is not the best way forward.
Parsons said organizers are asking the public not to show up at events taking place on public roads, but to watch them on TV when asked about concerns about a potential spread of infections during the games. He said people both related to the games and Japanese residents must remain vigilant. U.S. President Joe Biden plans to name a close aide to former President Barack Obama as the next U.S. ambassador to Japan. The White House has announced the nomination of Rahm Emanuel, a 61-year-old former congressman. Emanuel served as Obama's chief of staff from 2009. He led efforts to enact the so-called Obamacare Act, a top priority issue for the administration. He went on to serve as mayor of Chicago from 2011 to 2019. Emanuel is believed to be close to President Biden as well. His was earlier considered for the positions of Transportation Secretary and U.S. Envoy to China. The post of U.S. Ambassador to Japan has been vacant since William Hagerty stepped down in July 2019 to run for the Senate. The Biden administration places particular importance on maintaining good relations with Japan as part of its effort to counter China. If confirmed by the Senate, Emanuel would have to deal with various tasks, including strengthening the bilateral alliance. U.S. electric automaker Tesla says it will develop a humanoid robot that runs on AI and other technologies used in its fleet of autonomous vehicles. The Tesla Bot will stand about 1.72 meters tall and weigh about 57 kilograms. A black screen attached to the front of its head will display information. It will be able to walk at about 8 kilometers per hour and carry up to 20 kilograms. Tesla CEO Elon Musk unveiled the plan at the company's headquarters on Thursday. Musk said the robot will be designed to handle such jobs as fixing cars and going shopping.
It's intended to be friendly, of course, and navigate through a world built for humans and eliminate dangerous, repetitive, and boring tasks.
Musk, whose title is Techno King of Tesla, predicted physical work will be a choice in the future. He said if people want to do tasks, they can, but they won't need to. He claimed the robot would have profound implications for the economy. Musk said the prototype will be completed next year. He did not know when the Tesla Bot will hit the market. Those were the stories for this hour.